Hello, welcome back. Today is Dark Souls 3 review. We'll go ahead and do some, we'll preface it first. I have beaten Bloodborne twice and Dark Souls 1 coming into this game. And I had tried to get into this game twice. I got to about High Lord Mjolnir. I've been there twice. And then about that time, in both my recent playthroughs, I've just kind of stopped. The game just kind of hasn't really hooked me. But I figured, you know what? I love the other two. I've heard great things about this game nonstop. So I will force myself to get past that part and just go deep into the game and see what we can do. So this time I finished it. We have a total of about 30 hours. 30 hours and about 2 weeks into the game. I beat this whole game in 2 weeks. I played it a lot over the last week or two of quarantine. And we'll go ahead and jump right into it. I can't go in depth on some of the stuff that I would like to in terms of with the video to go along with it because I don't have the best editing software. But there are many. I thought Joseph Anderson on YouTube did a phenomenal job of going into this game, and he highlights some of the thoughts I have about the combat as well, and he does a very good job. So I would recommend if you have any more questions to check out that video. The only problem is it's about an hour and a half. That's why I can't go in as in depth as that one. But we'll go ahead and start with the pros. First of all, the graphics are amazing. I'll go ahead and throw screenshots right here of how good some of these graphics are on my PS4 Pro. It was very common for me to just stop and, like you can see, just take screenshots because this game is absolutely gorgeous. By far the best looking of the main three in the Souls series. Not even close, but of course I am on a PS4 Pro now compared to a PS3 and original PS4 on the other ones. But this game is just beautiful even on a regular PS4 that I played on for a lot of the time. But it's just the design for so many of the weapons, the bosses, the areas, everything was just gorgeous, and the game ran very smooth as well. Never really any hiccups in the frame rate or anything like that. I never really struggled with much of anything performance-wise, so there's not much to spend time on that. It ran perfectly for me, and it was just beautiful. And next we'll go to the music. Man, the music in this game is ridiculous. There was so many times I would just stop and just not move and listen to the music because it was amazing. I think the highlight was after you spoilers ahead. I don't know. I figured it was obvious. This game's 2 years old, but more than 2 years old now. But the music when you lay the ashes at the Lord of Cinders, all the seats and the Firelink Shrine, the music that kicks in there, and then the Gwyn, or not the Gwyn, the Soul of Cinder fight, when Gwyn's music comes back in was incredible. And I think the music for about so many of the boss fights was great. I thought the design for the Dancer of the Boreal Valley, how you could hear the footsteps echoing, was great. Just consistently the music in this game and the sound design was as good as it's been in this whole series. And I think some of the bosses in this game were absolutely incredible. My favorite was by far Soul of Cinder. Was so well designed, a perfect final boss. The switch up into the second phase where he turns back into Gwyn was incredible. That fight is near perfection, honestly. I love it so much. The design, the music, everything about it, the story, the switch up, the second phase, everything's great. I thought Champion Gundyr was great. Those are always the best fights in the series, is just one-on-one duels without really any spells, in my opinion. Those are usually some of my favorites. When it's just like hand-to-hand combat with two people, and Gundyr, it was great to have the original boss come back again, because that's how a lot of these first bosses would be a lot tougher if they were scaled for endgame, which he was here. Just a fun fight all around, so fast-paced. I loved it so much. Dragon Slayer armor, the exact same thing. Of course, he had some spells, but I just love regular just combat one-on-one without a lot of other enemies around. So much fun, and I thought Abyss Watchers was a great fight as well. That's kind of the first real challenge in the game, in my opinion, but it's just... I loved it as well. The switch up where you have somebody fighting for you instead of against you. It becomes 2-on-2. I like that better than the second phase. I wish they would have done that as the second phase, but it's just a great fight in general. There were some amazing levels in this game. The highlights were definitely the entire final area. After you beat the Consumed King, and then you go down the little rock wall, and then you're right back at the beginning area, except it's pitch black everywhere. But the areas in which you can move was just incredible. So I never hear anyone talk about that. That's one of the best areas, probably the best area in the whole game, is when everything's pitch black, and that leads right in to the Firelink Shrine where everything is destroyed, and you can just kind of look around in there. And, oh, it's just amazing, and it's so dark. And I was honestly scared walking through Firelink Shrine. I was playing it late at night, and I was the only one up, and it was scary just being the only one. And it's just there's barely any music. It's really quiet. You can hear the footsteps echoed so loudly, and you're just used to this place being alive with lights everywhere and people, and then it's just dark, and it's amazing. And the area leading up to the Soul of Cinder fight at the end, I know it's short, but it's just so beautiful. I thought Cathedral of the Deep was such a gigantic area, so well designed with so many shortcuts, and the whole it's the patch where patches can push you off the side. There's a lot of the whole story. There's a lot of stuff going on in Cathedral of the Deep. It was great, and yeah, I already said the beginning area. Those are the two highlights for me. By far, I don't think really any other areas come close. Cathedral of the Deep could be one of my favorite areas in the series ever, but the boss fight's just awful there. Honestly, it's just one of the worst in the game, so that kind of ruined that part. But man, those two areas are phenomenal. I think the story in this game is phenomenal. Same as all the other games of this series. They're very light on the story, but some of the cutscenes, and when there is a cutscene, is incredible. The entire last 20 minutes of the game before the Gwen fight, keep calling him Gwen, Soul of Cinder, where you talk to the Firekeeper, give her the eyes and everything. That whole sequence was amazing. The commentary during the Lothric fight and the Osiris Consumed King fight, the commentary there was great. And this game just did a very good job of introducing the story slowly as it went. A lot of the NPCs were very fun to talk to and interact with. Just great story in general, and very sad. It's a very sad story, and how it connects to the first game is a great idea as well. And that's another thing. I think some of the ways it connects back to the first game was really good. The callbacks, like you can get Smo's armor in this game. Obviously, the whole Soul of Cinder fight, the second phase is a callback. Go straight through in Orlando is amazing. Just the genius idea and how it connects back, and it really makes you realize that it's in the same world as the first game. Just great callbacks and great story to connect all of it. And I think the combat finds a very good balance between Bloodborne and Dark Souls 1. There's a lot of fast-paced stuff. You can see early in the game that I was playing with, I was using heavier armor and a bigger sword, but as the game went on, I was just able to switch, and then I went back to my kind of Bloodborne playstyle of just two-handing everything after I kind of got back in the swing of things, and I was able to kind of play it just like Bloodborne. This game has a lot of options for combat. You're not locked into one strategy or the other, which is a very tough balance to find, but this game did a very good job at it. And that was all the pros. We'll go into the cons now. I don't think this game has any memorable levels that I'll think as highly of as I will some other games. I know I said that those last two areas were great, but they were they're really short in the game, so that's not like all-time great territory for me because it's just so short. But like, it's meant to be short. That was kind of the whole point of it. It's the beginning of the game once again. But I don't feel like there's any areas that will just kind of stand out and will be on the level of Cathedral Ward and Orlando. Any areas like that, I feel like, in my opinion. Or Canehurst Castle is another one that will be up there. I just don't feel like this game has any areas like that will be on that level. I think that one annoying part for me was late in the game. These enemies are brutal. Like, they're harder than the bosses, just the enemies outside of the boss arena. But it was useless because the game was so easy to just run straight past it. There was areas I was never in before that I was able to run straight to the boss on my first try. There's just not really any different paths you could take a lot of times. It felt like it was just straight there, and it was too easy. Like, it should not be that easy for me to run past all these enemies and avoid fighting. That's just a I mean, it sounds like a lot of people would say, well, why don't you just fight them anyway? If the game, it's not going to make me, and it's just easier to run past them, why would I not just run past them? And I can get the point of after you fought the boss a lot, then you just want to run past it. But I'm talking like first time in these areas, I was able to just book it straight through them. And it wasn't even like I was actively trying to just run past everybody. It was just easy the whole time. That's a big thing I didn't like. Another complaint is the difficulty spike straight after High Lord Mjolnir into Irithyll. That is ridiculously stupid. I don't get why there's that difficulty spike. It just goes straight from a solidly hard game to that's the hardest area in the game for me, and then the hardest boss in the game was Pontiff Sullivan. I don't know, and then the whole game just goes straight up from there. Like, it just stays on that high difficulty level, when right before that it was not that difficult. I don't know why it did that. I don't like difficulty spikes. I don't know why you can't just be on a steady incline of getting harder and harder as the game goes. I really didn't like it. I hate that part a lot. It's just, that's probably my least favorite area in the game is Irithyll. I just think it's just too, I don't think it's good design for it to just get that hard out of nowhere when it was easy. 5 minutes before, or not easy, but easier 5 minutes before. Like, I think Dark Souls 1 and Bloodborne both did it better of just having a consistent difficulty incline, in my opinion. And I really didn't like that, and that's the reason I stopped right there both times in this game. Told you I stopped at High Lord Mjolnir, because just Irithyll, I don't like how it just gets crazy hard out of nowhere, and you have to redo your whole playstyle to get through that area. I didn't like that, in my opinion. Another complaint I have is that the shortcuts were just too easy to find in this game. There was so many times, like, it would be right outside of the boss arena. Like, who was it? I thought the one right outside of Dragon Slayer armor was just too freaking easy. Like, it's an elevator that leads straight from the bonfire to right outside of his fight, and the elevator is in plain sight. Like, it's not even hidden. You don't have to look for it. You don't have to try and find it to maybe get to it. Like, there's nothing more rewarding than finding a shortcut in Bloodborne and Dark Souls 1. Like, the elevator back down to Firelink Shrine, or the connections between all the areas, the ladder back up to the original gate in Bloodborne, and I feel like the shortcuts, in so many of these areas in the other games were very well hidden, and you had to look to find them. In this game, it's just not rewarding to find a elevator right next to the boss arena that you can plainly see that leads straight from your bonfire. I felt like that ruined the aspect of having to look around. I didn't really look around late in the game because it was obvious. Like, I would find it without even looking, find the elevator that leads right down to the bonfire, and I would be like, well, what's the reason to explore when I can get straight from the bonfire to the boss arena every time I die? That ruined the aspect to look around a lot. And another thing connected to this was there was just too many freaking bonfires in this game. There should not be this many bonfires. It makes the game way too easy at some points. Like, in Dark Souls 1 or Bloodborne, finding a lamp or a bonfire was a big deal. I know the Dragon Slayer armor one's a pretty big meme, because, like, you can see a bonfire from another bonfire. Like, what is that? And there doesn't need to be a bonfire every time you beat a boss. I feel like there was just too freaking many bonfires in this game. If you look at the list side by side of how many there are in each game, or compare the lanterns to any of the games, there's so many in this game, and there doesn't need to be, besides Dark Souls 2. There was too many in that game. But there just does not need to be that many bonfires, and it makes finding one not a big deal, and I really didn't even care when I found a bonfire in this game. There are some very core combat issues that this game has that I think cannot be ignored. As a Souls veteran who has played these games a lot, I think the biggest guilty party here is the attacks having the same starting animations. A person can lift up their sword and go to spike. Sometimes it'll be a quick attack, and other times they'll hold their sword up for like half a second or a second longer and then do a big charge attack. But they'll start with the same animation, and a lot of times you just won't know whether to dodge or to wait for maybe the longer attack, and you'll get hit with the first one, or sometimes you'll try and dodge the first one, but it will actually be the longer attack. That just kind of ruins some of the knowledge that comes with fighting a boss a lot, and it makes it more difficult than to just learn the animations, which is how the other games worked. That kind of takes away from the tough but fair aspect, in my opinion. I really didn't like that part, and it made some of these fights just more annoying than difficult. Like, some of these fights I was actively just not enjoying. Even after I beat it, I was like, that was not fun, because some of these animations you really don't know what you're getting into. I feel like Pontiff Sullivan was the biggest, he's the most guilty party here. I feel like the Twin Princes was another one. You never really knew what attack they were going for. Dancer of the Boreal Valley wasn't nearly as bad, but man, some of these attack animations, you can't tell until you already hit on which one they were going to do. That's a complaint I have. I don't like how some combos can be the exact same combo, but sometimes it'll be 5 hits long, or sometimes 3, when the first 3 hits are always the same, and sometimes they'll just do more afterwards, because still, that falls right back into the ruining the tough but fair aspect that these games are known for. If a boss most of the time will do a 3-hit combo, and then I can attack afterwards, but then sometimes he'll just add 2 random hits to the same 3-hit combo that he already had, but I'm going to attack and then I get killed right there. How am I supposed to know that when every other time he's not been doing that? It's a lot of the random elements thrown into these fights where you can't learn from just fighting the boss. A lot of it is you have to guess. That's not a bad sign when I can fight this boss 10 or 15 times, and some of the times it's still just up to the luck of the draw for which attack or which combo he's going to do, based on the animations and based on how the combo starts. I just don't like that. I think it's just bad design in general. I don't think enemies should have 1-hit kills in these games. I think it's very frustrating. Dancer of the Boreal Valley really got me with some of this. I would be playing perfect. Like, there's sometimes I had every one of my Estus flasks going into his second phase, and I had not been hit yet, and then boom, I get 1-hit KO'd because of one attack that he caught me with, that grab attack. Like, that's just not good design. I don't think it rewards you to be aggressive when there's 1-hit kills. It makes you play more safe and goes back to the Dark Souls 1 strategy that Bloodborne tried so hard to get rid of, and I really don't like that either. I felt like parrying just sucked in this game. I feel like it sucks in the first game too. The parrying's not good. It's so inconsistent. It's hard to time, not hard to time it right. It's hard to know what the game is really asking for with some of these. Like, some of these, I would try the same animation that the boss had 6 or 7 times, just could not parry it once, and I would try it 7 different times. Like, And even when I would get it, then I would be like, I really don't know what I did right there compared to what I did wrong last time. I feel like parrying is just not the strong suit in Dark Souls 1 or 3. And I felt it was very common that sometimes dodging just didn't work. Like, I would just press O. Like, I would try to hit, then dodge. Sometimes dodging just would not freaking work, and I would stand there. And I know there's nothing wrong with my button because obviously I'm dodging very consistently. You have to beat these games, you have to dodge. I just don't like that. I think that's I don't know what else, I don't know how to fix that really, just kind of in the coding of the game, I guess. But just sometimes dodge, you just cannot dodge. It would not physically let me dodge. When I would press the button to get out of a combo, I would just stand there, or if a boss is coming at me, a lot of times I would try and dodge, and I would just be standing there. And there was nothing I could do about it. I really didn't know what to do to fix it, honestly. That was annoying. And I felt the same problem recurred for double healing a lot, especially for fast bosses like Pontiff Sullivan. If you have your distance, you got to use 2 Estuses really quick, and sometimes this game would just not let me use 2 Estuses. Like when you go to drink it, you can use 2 at a time a lot, and that's critical for bosses that have quick attacks. And this game just would not let me use 2 Estuses at once sometimes. Okay, I spent a long time going into the cons of the combat in this game, but these games are built on the combat, and they're the reason I play these games. And this game had so many combat issues that I just cannot overlook as a Souls veteran that I think were just very poorly designed and just were not well executed, in my opinion. Final verdict on this game. This game would be better if it did not have the name Dark Souls in the title. This is a good game. I would recommend it to anybody, but I do not think it is near the level of Bloodborne or Dark Souls 1. Those are 2 of my favorite games ever, and this is a good game, just not in the all-time great territories that the others are in. Right now, this game is very cheap. It's like $20 anywhere you want to buy it right now. Just because it is not in the all-time great territory that the others are, does not mean it's a bad game. This is a very good game. I can name a million good games that aren't in my favorite games of all time list, and this is one of them. This game gets a 7.5 out of 10, and I would recommend anyone buy it if you're up for the challenge and you're ready for a long, well, not 30 hours, isn't that long, but hard experience that's going to test you, and it's a very rewarding game to beat. I felt accomplished after beating it, and I would recommend it to anybody. I think this is a good game. From Software did good, but it just didn't fill up the expectations that the last 2 games had set for most of us, and it seems most people agree that this isn't as good as the other 2, but still, I would recommend it to anybody. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to like and subscribe. Comment what you agreed or disagreed with. I know I was very critical, and a lot of people won't like that, but I hope you enjoyed my review, and be sure to subscribe for more videos coming soon. Peace out.